Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.
Today we're diving deep into Jordan B. Peterson's Beyond Order. 12 more rules for life.
Yeah, his work is really thought-provoking.
It really is.
A lot of people find it very helpful.
He kind of blends together like
Yeah.
psychology and philosophy and...
Even mythology.
Yeah, and he's looking at how we can find meaning, right?
Yeah, meaning in life.
So his first rule
Okay.
is do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds kind of simple on the surface, but...
Yeah, it's deceptively simple, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot packed into that.
So how does he explain this?
Well, he actually starts with this story about a client he had who was dealing with loss and isolation.
Makes sense.
And you would think, right, that somebody in the situation would just want to kind of...
Withdraw even more.
Withdraw, yeah, exactly.
Like, hunker down.
But the solution was to actually engage more.
Oh, interesting. Engage more with what, though?
With social institutions.
Like what?
Like joining groups, like volunteering, anything that kind of puts you out there and
Gets you out of your own head.
yeah, and connects you with the community.
That makes me think about how sometimes we're so quick to, like, criticize traditions or, complain about, like, red tape and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe we're kind of overlooking the value that those things provide.
Like, we get caught up in the flaws, right?
Yeah.
But we forget, like, the good stuff, the benefits.
It's like those institutions, they embody, like, a lot of knowledge and...
Yeah, wisdom from the past.
Like how to, create order and...
stability.
Yeah, stability.
Which we often take for granted.
Right.
Until it's gone.
So is Peterson saying we should just, like, blindly follow all the rules?
No, not at all.
Okay.
He really stresses critical thinking. Like, you have to understand the why.
Understand why these things are in place.
Exactly. And he goes into the origins of order.
Origins.
It's like the roots. He finds these parallels. It's so interesting between, like, simple organisms. Oh, wow.
And human behavior.
Wait, so he's comparing, like, single-celled organisms to...
to the way that humans structure themselves in groups.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Even single-celled organisms are driven toward order.
What do you mean by that?
Like, they respond in predictable ways to their environment.
Okay.
Creating structure to survive.
And then as things get more complex...
You get more layers, more intricate systems.
That kind of culminates in, like, us.
Yeah, and he also talks about how childhood play is crucial in this development.
Oh, interesting. Like how...
Well, when kids play, they're not just messing around.
Right.
They're actually learning about social rules.
Oh, yeah.
Hierarchy, cooperation.
All that stuff that you need as an adult.
Exactly. It's like training, and then that learning continues through mentorship.
Like apprenticeship.
Exactly. We build on what came before, contributing to,
Society.
the evolution of culture, yeah.
Which is a good segue into his second rule.
Imagine who you could be, and then aim single-mindedly at that.
Well, it sounds like a...
Like a motivational poster.
Yeah, exactly, but it's much deeper.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's, like, the real message there?
Well, he uses this example of Moses judging the Israelites before the Ten Commandments.
Interesting.
He argues that we often discover the rules we're already living by.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not just about setting goals. It's more like...
It's like tapping into something innate. Like
remembering who we're supposed to be.
Exactly. We're constantly reaching for our potential. Even before we fully understand what it is, it's this dance between remembering and...
And learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We discover ourselves by pushing our limits, confronting our fears.
Now, Peterson uses this, like, really striking visual...
Oh, yeah. The woodcut.
...to illustrate this idea.
It's called a materia prima, who you could be. It's full of symbolism.
It's pretty intense when you look at it.
Yeah, there's this round shape at the bottom representing chaos, the unknown potential.
And then there's that dragon.
Oh, yeah, perched right on top. The dragon is both danger and possibility. It's that...
like that element of the unknown.
Right, like getting a letter could be bad news. Do you open it?
Or do you just let it sit there and...
And let the fear eat at you?
So it's that choice. Like, do you retreat from it?
Or do you confront it?
Okay, so that's the dragon. What else is in this image?
You've also got Jupiter and Saturn.
What?
The positive and negative, the masculine and feminine. And then guiding the whole process, there's Mercurius.
Okay, and that represents...
Well, it's a little complicated, but basically it's meaning.
Okay.
And the unconscious forces that draw us towards, wholeness.
So what's, like, the main message Peterson wants us to take away from this?
Look for the dragons in your own life. Where are you stuck in chaos?
Hmm. Avoiding the unknown.
Exactly. Confronting that might be the key to your true potential.
Now, I know Peterson has strong opinions about ideology.
Yeah, he addresses that in Rule 6. Abandon ideology.
It's where things get a little,
Controversial.
yeah.
But he's not saying all ideologies are bad. He's warning against blindly following any one of them.
So we should, like, engage with different perspectives.
Yeah, and think critically. He sees ideologies as shortcuts.
Yeah.
They oversimplify.
Instead of actually engaging with the complexity.
Exactly. He uses the example of liberals and conservatives
Okay.
and how they view authority. It's like different interpretations of the Great Father.
Interesting. So instead of seeing it as a battle
Right.
between good and evil,
It's more about different...
necessary forces.
Yeah, both have their strengths and weaknesses.
That's a really thought-provoking way to look at it. Now, his rule 7
Okay.
is work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens.
This one sounds a little intense.
Yeah, like a recipe for burnout, maybe.
Yeah.
But what's he really getting at?
He uses this great metaphor. Focused effort is like coal transforming into a diamond.
Ooh, I like that.
It's about pressure
Yeah,
and transformation, dedication and perseverance
not just in work, but like,
in anything worthwhile.
and he's seen this firsthand.
Yeah, with his students and clients, like watching them gain skills, develop character
So it's about refining yourself,
through effort. Yeah.
which leads us to rule 8. Try to make one room in your home as beautiful as possible.
That's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love this one. It's so simple, but
But profound.
what's the deeper meaning there?
Peterson's actually very open about his own struggles with order,
Oh, okay.
like keeping things tidy. But he argues that cultivating beauty, even in just one space, it brings order to chaos,
It can be really grounding.
especially when things are tough.
So it's not just about, like, aesthetics.
No, it's about creating a space that reflects your values.
And that promotes peace.
Exactly. He actually tells a story about getting so caught up in work that he missed out on time with his kids.
That's,
It's a good reminder.
yeah, it is. Like, sometimes we get so focused on achieving that we...
We forget to appreciate what we have.
Exactly. Now, this connects to his larger point about beauty and art.
He has a beautiful interpretation of William Blake's poetry.
Oh, yeah.
He sees artists as transforming chaos into order, revealing the divine.
Wow. So art helps us make sense of the world.
It's like an optical illusion,
Yeah.
where you see one thing, then suddenly it's something else.
And it's not just visual art. Right?
No, any kind of art, music, literature.
Yeah.
He compares art to dreams.
Oh, interesting. How so?
They both mediate between order and chaos,
Okay.
helping us understand our place in the world.
That's fascinating. He even asked the listener directly, how can you engage with beauty and art?
Yeah, to enrich your life. It's a good question.
It is. Now, shifting gears a bit, Peterson also talks about the importance of confronting our own darkness. That's Rule 11. Do not allow yourself to become resentful, deceitful, or arrogant.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from that.
He has a lot to say about the darker side of human nature.
How ignoring it can lead to negative emotions, destructive behaviors.
He even shares a story about a client haunted by suppressed memories.
It really highlights the importance of understanding the root causes of suffering.
So instead of running away from it, we need to, like,
Face it head on.
shine a light on it.
Integrate it.
It reminds me of the dragon again.
It all connects, right?
Now, he warns us against resentment, deceit, and arrogance.
Those are like the
big 3.
yeah. He calls them an unholy trinity.
Ooh. So how does he explain those?
Well, he sees resentment as stemming from feeling wronged.
Like when life isn't fair.
Exactly. Or when we compare ourselves to others.
It's that why me feeling.
And it can be really toxic.
Yeah. Like it's
We focus on the grievances, blame others,
keeps you stuck.
in a victim mentality, yeah. He connects this to the archetype of the adversary,
The adversary.
that force that opposes growth.
Right?
It's that voice that says, the world is unfair, so why even try?
So how do we combat that?
The first step is to acknowledge it. Understand the root of the resentment.
Getting curious about it.
Yeah, instead of wallowing. Once you understand it, you can start addressing it.
And what about deceit?
Peterson sees deceit as self-sabotage. When we lie, we're deceiving ourselves too.
It's like building a house on a bad foundation.
Exactly. It erodes trust,
And it can ruin relationships.
careers, everything, and he connects it to arrogance.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
If you think you're smarter than everyone else,
You think you can get away with it.
you can outsmart reality. It's dangerous.
And what's the solution there?
He keeps it simple. Tell the truth.
Or at least don't lie.
Exactly. It's about integrity.
Aligning your actions with your values.
It takes courage sometimes.
But it's worth it.
For an authentic life, yeah. And that brings us to arrogance.
Okay, so how does that fit in?
He sees humility as the antidote.
So instead of being the center of the universe,
Recognize that you're fallible.
there's always more to learn.
It's about awe and wonder.
Respect for what you don't know.
Yeah. It's not about weakness. It's about recognizing the limitations of your own perspective.
This reminds me of his point about social institutions.
Oh, how so?
It's about recognizing that we're not isolated. We're part of something bigger.
Exactly. That sense of belonging can be really powerful.
And finding your place in that larger context.
Finding your place, yeah.
This has been a really thought-provoking start to our deep dive into Beyond Order.
He really challenges us to think differently.
Join us in part 2 as we continue to explore his ideas.
Picking up where we left off with those less desirable traits, resentment, deceit, arrogance.
Right, the unholy trinity.
It's interesting how Peterson connects them to meaning and responsibility.
Yeah, he doesn't just point out the problems.
Right.
He actually offers solutions.
Exactly. And a key one is taking responsibility.
Okay, how so?
He says real fulfillment comes from pursuing goals bigger than yourself, like challenges, contributing to the world.
They're not just, like, self-gratification.
Right. It's about aligning with something meaningful, something that...
Resonates with your values.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to social institutions.
Oh, yeah.
He sees them as providing structure and meaning.
He acknowledges they can be corrupt, but also a force for good.
Like that stability and order we talked about.
And a framework for cooperation, yeah. It's like recognizing we're not just individuals.
Right, we're part of this larger,
Social fabric.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He even takes it further to the spiritual realm.
Ooh, interesting.
Like that longing for connection to something bigger.
Not necessarily religion, though.
No, not necessarily. Just that human need for meaning. So something beyond the everyday.
That makes sense. It's like that awe you feel in nature or with art or even like...
A profound idea.
Exactly. And he encourages us to cultivate that.
Yeah. He speaks from experience, too. He's talked about his own struggles with depression.
Yeah, and finding meaning in a world that can feel kind of meaningless sometimes.
And it's his willingness to be vulnerable that makes his work so relatable. You feel like he's on the journey with you.
Not just lecturing from above.
Right, exactly. And he connects that to the importance of storytelling. Okay, how so?
He says humans are wired for narrative. We make sense of the world through stories.
So not just like books and movies.
No, the stories we tell ourselves about our own lives.
Oh, that makes
And the
sense.
stories we choose to believe, they shape our reality.
It's like if you tell yourself you're a victim,
Then that's what you become.
a self-fulfilling prophecy.
But the good news is we can choose a different story.
We have that power.
He encourages us to examine the narratives that shape us,
And choose ones that empower us.
that align with our values, yeah.
Instead of just being passive, we become,
Active authors.
of our own stories.
And he thinks the most powerful stories tap into those archetypal truths,
Like the universal human experiences.
which is why he uses so much mythology and religion, classic literature,
Those stories hold a lot of wisdom, don't they?
about the human condition for sure.
And speaking of wisdom, Peterson also draws on Carl Jung.
Oh, yeah.
The concept of the shadow.
Oh, right. What was that again?
The hidden parts of our personality.
The stuff we don't want to look at.
Exactly. The fears, insecurities.
Nice. The dark side.
But he says it's not inherently bad.
Oh, okay.
It just needs to be understood, integrated.
Like brought into the light.
Yeah, exactly. Like the dragon and the woodcut.
You keep bringing that back. I love it.
It all connects. Facing the shadow leads to wholeness.
But it can be tough to do.
For sure, it takes honesty. Facing those uncomfortable truths.
It's deep work.
But essential for an authentic life. And to help with that, he emphasizes ritual.
Ritual. Interesting. Like, in what way?
He sees them as more than just ceremonies. They shape behavior, connect us to something bigger.
He's not just talking about, like, big religious rituals, right?
No, even simple things like making your bed, cleaning your room.
Those little daily things,
Yeah, they create order in your environment,
which then translates to...
order in your mind. Right, a sense of control.
It's about taking ownership, even in the small things.
It's amazing how powerful those little things can be.
And it all connects back to that search for meaning.
That seems to be at the core of his work.
He says it's fundamental to being human.
But he doesn't offer any easy answers, does he?
No, it's a lifelong journey with challenges.
But there is hope, right?
Oh, absolutely. He says even in dark times, there are moments of grace, of meaning,
It's about choosing to focus on the good
cultivating gratitude.
and finding purpose beyond yourself.
Exactly. And we don't have to do it alone.
That's important.
Finding your tribe, those shared values, it's powerful.
And finding stories that inspire you.
That speaks to your soul.
So we're not just isolated individuals, but...
Part of this larger human story.
Now, Peterson talks a lot about order. What does he actually mean by that?
He sees it as the foundation for a meaningful life.
Okay.
Without structure, discipline, you get overwhelmed by chaos.
But he's not talking about, like, rigid authoritarianism, right?
No, it's about balance. Structure and flexibility, discipline and creativity.
That sweet spot in the middle.
Exactly. And it's not just individual, it's societal too.
Healthy societies need both.
Order and creativity, stability and innovation.
Finding that balance between the past and the future.
Right, and it's ongoing, always shifting.
Life's not static, it's dynamic.
Exactly. And finally, he emphasizes humility.
Oh yeah, that's a big one for him.
He says arrogance is so dangerous, both personally and,
Societally.
yeah. It's that inflated ego, the disconnect from reality.
And he sees humility as the antidote.
Recognizing you're not the center of the universe.
That you're fallible.
There's always more to learn.
Approaching life with that sense of awe.
And respect for the mystery of it all.
Humility is not weakness.
No, it's strength. It's about embracing your limitations, being open to new things.
The transformative power of learning.
Yeah. It's not about conquering the world, but understanding your place in it.
Taking responsibility, making a contribution.
However small it might seem.
This has been incredible so far. The way he brings together all these ideas.
Psychology, philosophy, his own life.
Even ancient myths.
It's a framework for a better life.
In part 3, we'll look at his advice on relationships, parenting, navigating the world.
He's got some really unique perspectives.
Stay tuned. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Jordan B. Peterson's Beyond Order.
Yeah, this is where we get into some really practical stuff.
Like relationships, parenting, finding your place in the world.
Mm-hmm. Peterson has some unique takes on all that.
So let's start with relationships. He talks about like masculine and feminine energy.
Yeah, not just in individuals, but in society as a whole.
It gets pretty deep, right? With all the archetypes and mythology and...
He talks about the great mother and the great father.
Oh yeah, those are central to his work. So is he saying those, like, define men and women?
Not exactly. He sees them as forces that are at play everywhere, both inside us and in society.
So a healthy society needs both.
That balance, yeah. The masculine drive, the feminine wisdom.
I remember he even connects that to politics.
Oh, yeah. Liberals leaning towards the feminine, conservatives towards the masculine.
And it's not a value judgment. It's just...
different ways of seeing the world.
two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. We need both.
And that's especially important in relationships.
He talks about that balance between autonomy and connection.
Like independence versus intimacy.
You need both, but it's a dance.
Finding that sweet spot.
And he's not afraid to talk about the messy stuff.
The conflicts, yeah. Every relationship has them.
He stresses communication, negotiation, compromise.
So being willing
That meet in the middle.
to see the other person's perspective.
And to hold on to your own individuality at the same time.
That's so important. Not losing yourself in the relationship.
Being two whole people who choose to be together.
I like that. And he's pretty realistic about love.
Not just a fairy tale.
It takes work.
Effort, intention, and a commitment to,
To personal growth.
Yeah, exactly. Which ties into his views on parenting.
That's another area where he's got some strong opinions.
Structure and guidance are crucial, he says.
He's big on discipline.
But not in a harsh way. It's about love. About giving kids the tools they need.
Setting boundaries. Teaching them right from wrong.
Helping them become responsible people.
So they can thrive in the world.
Yeah. But he also says parenting changes you.
You learn from your kids.
It forces you to grow.
It's a two-way street.
Which brings us to that overarching theme.
Finding meaning.
Even in the face of suffering.
He doesn't shy away from the hard stuff.
No. Life is tough.
But there's always meaning to be found.
Even in the darkness.
It's a journey, right?
A lifelong one, for sure.
With ups and downs.
But Peterson says, even in those low moments.
You can find grace. Those moments of
beauty, of connection.
It's about focusing on the good, being grateful.
Finding purpose beyond yourself.
And we don't have to do it alone.
No, finding your tribe, sharing those values.
Finding stories that inspire you.
That remind you of what's important.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Beyond Order,
What have we learned?
well, Peterson challenges us to take responsibility,
To make choices.
to strive for excellence,
To face our fears.
to embrace our shadows,
To find meaning in something bigger than ourselves.
and to remember that even in the darkest times,
We have this incredible capacity for...
resilience, compassion, growth,
He gives us a framework for navigating life.
finding meaning, living with purpose.
And that's really what it's all about.
This has been a fascinating exploration of Jordan Peterson's work.
A lot to think about.
We encourage you to dive into his books, see what resonates with you.
There's a lot of wisdom there.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.